Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Critical Reactions with your host, Bryan. And I know most of you are thinking, another episode? What's going on here? We already had one. Dream Theater was today's band. Yeah, you're right. This is a bonus video. You see, for the poll, Intervals and Dream Theater tied for first place. And I figure, you know what? I got an awesome community. Instead of trying to figure out a tiebreaker or putting Intervals on Tuesday and getting rid of the typical second place band, I'll just give them both on the same day. And then we can continue on with the usual stuff. We'll have 6 videos for this theme. That's not a bad deal. Hopefully my patrons don't take this as a challenge and start trying to tie more often to get 6 videos a week. I'll have to figure out something a little bit more sustainable at that point. But as a one-time offer, I'm like, yeah, okay. They deserve it. My community's awesome. Let's get to it. So like I said, we already checked out Dream Theater. We're going to be looking at Intervals this time, and the song is called I'm Awake. Let's get to it. Let's see what they're up to. Yeah, some real mathy stuff. Nice harmonics there at the end of this riff. I like how the drum cut out the low end and went to cymbals for the harmonics to kind of line up those elements. Ooh, some nice contrast. Still a lot of drive with that hi-hat there, but still providing a lot of this upbeat positivity against the drive change. Positive, very upbeat. Lots of funkiness with the offbeat accents and the quick little grace notes. Yeah, really cool panning there. Alright, so we moved from 4/4 to 3/4 there. Yeah, so we're still in 3. Really cool stuff going on with the rhythms too. Some textural harmonies here. Double fake out. So we went to the halftime relax feel into the quick playing back into this relaxed feel. All that hi-hat. That's yeah. I really thought we were going to come back in, have that silence on 3 and 4, then hit back in on 1. Um, yeah, just fantastic stuff. I don't think anybody can listen to that and say that there's not a lot of skill and musicianship on show there, even if it's not necessarily your cup of tea. I mean, it is impressive to watch. Um, and there's always something that, at least for me, there's something there that's going to keep me interested. Even if I don't look into the band any further, just having that impressive musicianship and the skill required to play the piece is going to excite me. I love watching musicians push their craft to the limit. I mean, we saw this with Colin Stetson this weekend, and I geeked out so hard over that just because the composition wasn't exactly something I'd listen to, but just the raw skill on display. And it's the same thing happening here. There's a lot of really cool guitar techniques and drum techniques, as well as some interesting rhythmic patterns in the drums that just elevate this. I'm not going to say that the song specifically spoke to me on any sort of large thematic level. I mean, it was just a nice, fun, upbeat, perky, almost danceable math rock track. Nothing wrong with that whatsoever. But what I'm really excited about is the musicianship in here. The musicianship in here. We have some ridiculous guitar parts, just constantly moving, constantly tapping. We have these nice harmonics that are introduced in the first riff, and it's three. I think it's three of them back to back that are wedged in between faster runs, and just the precision to pull that off every time. I'm sure, being the studio version, they might have taken the best sounds out of all of them and mixed it together. But I mean, they still got to perform this live, and that harmonic part happened 6 times at least, 2 times per repetition. And I think we revisited that section twice, so that'd be 3 times, 2 times per. That's 6 times they got to pull that off flawlessly. And that's just, I'm going to wager they do it live, right? So that's just impressive all on its own. But then just factoring in the speed and precision of the playing required. It looked like they had some tapping in there, but they also had some sweeping and just fast playing all together, moving between all these different picking and fretting styles. I mean, it is a raw display. It reminds me a lot of Chan and Waterfalls. That doesn't sound right. Maybe it is. I can't think of what that. The music video was like a pool party, and they were jamming out. Also reminds me a little bit of Polyphia, with just this raw display of talent that, for me, overshadows the composition. Or for some, it might elevate the composition. I think both kind of come at the same angle, the same conclusion from two different angles. That the song would be lesser without the intense playing. Which is, it sounds contradictory, but follow me with this. So if we just take this general vibe and we kind of flatten it down into less technical elements, retaining some of the core melodic elements, taking away the embellishment and focusing on the strong key notes that are being hit and putting the right chords under it, you're going to end up with the same flavor of atmosphere, the same emotion, but it's going to be not a great song. It's going to be a bit boring, I would say. It's all the little embellishments and variations on ideas and the quick technical aspect that makes the song interesting. And I know that kind of seems redundant. You're like, well, yeah, that is the song now. The song is not what you mentioned earlier about it being easier. And yes, that's true. The song is a lot better for having those elements. But the core part of the song, when we look at the chord progression and all that, it's not an exceptionally strong song, which I think is why it doesn't speak to me personally. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't listen to the song and think it's, the bee's knees. It's the best thing you've had since sliced bread. You could listen to this and just fall in love and immediately want to check out more and buy their album, and now it's album of the year for you. And that is perfectly fine. Everybody has their own opinions and their own experiences listening to music. But I tend to listen for the strong elements, which is going to be your chord progressions, your key note hits, uh, basically the stuff outside of the embellishment. The embellishment to me is the showmanship, it's the musicianship, it elevates the song. But the core aspect of the song here doesn't really entertain me, and I think that the shallow, I don't want to say shallow because that's like negative connotations, the simple song progression also kind of holds it back a little bit. There's not a lot of parts here. We tend to revisit elements often. It's pretty much the same problem I had when we checked out Chan. No, Covet. Yeah. Now, Waterfalls was the song that we checked out from Chan. That was the pool party music video. Covet is the other one I was thinking of. And my big problem with Covet was that it was technically impressive, but the song itself failed to move. And Polyphia I had the same problem with Polyphia. I really enjoyed the technical aspects, but the song was lacking to me. There's a compositional oomph that was missing. And the same thing's happening here. I really want to love this. I do. All of these math rock bands, I want to fall in love with them because they speak to the part of me that loves musicians just pushing their craft, pushing, what they can do with their instruments and driving that to the edge. And my jaw drops listening to these guys playing. But after that initial shock of, wow, they strung all this together, they put it they put it together, they played it flawlessly. The song is just kind of flat. It's more, what is that, style over substance. That's kind of what I'm getting here, which is a bit unfortunate because, like I said, I really love the style. I just wish there was more oomph in the musical composition here. They do have some really nice ideas, and I think this is probably my favorite math rock band, or math rock song, I should say, so far. I think it nails a lot of the things I'm looking for. They introduce a lot of contrast, which I don't think we've really seen much in other songs that we've checked out in this style. They move between, the fast, hyper technical aspect. They move into slower parts that really speak into more legato melodic lines. And they use these two ideas to contrast a bit. The drums do a bit of mixing it up between raw technicality and sort of being a metronome, really holding that tempo down. The guitarists switch around a little bit. There's usually always somebody shredding. And I think that might be a little bit that kind of wears me out a bit, is that there's always shred. Even when we pull back to some of the quieter sections, and the sections that kind of sit where they are rather than really pushing forward with the momentum, there's still some element of momentum in those sections. So we're not getting that full contrast. We're getting a half contrast. And but we are getting some contrast. And like I said, I think that's one of the elements that really stands out for me with this song compared to the other stuff we've checked out, is that they do play around with these elements of contrast. They change around their sound a little bit, different timbres, they move around the neck. A lot of math rock is very higher note oriented, and these guys implement a little bit in the mid to low range to help balance that out. But overall, every part, I think this is the other thing. I'm slowly piecing together why this just doesn't work for me despite everything on paper being so good. And every part sounds the same. We do have a linear progression as far as the song's evolution. There are separate sections. I'm not saying that the song sounds like they have one idea for their full 4-minute runtime. There's obviously sections. I called them out while we were listening. But the thing is every section is created with a very similar DNA. There's not much differentiating them besides the riff itself. The vibe, the um, chord characteristics in the progression, the style of playing, the energy, the atmosphere, they're all very similar from start to finish. It is usually an instrument playing relatively quickly, harmonizing with another instrument, or playing over a sound floor with drums moving between keeping the tempo and throwing in some nice embellishments to add a technical element to the rhythmic section. Um, and the thing is 4 minutes of that, at least for me, is tiring. At the beginning, it's jaw dropping. By the end, I'm like, okay, you know, I see that you are very skilled musicians, but show me some skilled composition. And I feel like I'm being very negative on intervals. I really do. And I don't like that. I don't typically like to seat myself as a channel that is overly negative. We're here to celebrate music. I like to help people, better appreciate and have a new love for the songs they already love, or to help them find bands that they didn't know existed or never heard of, or maybe heard in passing but never checked out a song. The point is to breed positivity into the music scene. But I unfortunately I don't have a lot of positive things to say, positive feedback, I should say, for this song outside of the raw technical skills that were required to play it. And I don't want I don't want what I've said to feel like an attack on the band. They're doing what they set out to do. It is a fun jam. Yeah, I mean, I was rocking out to it the whole time, right? So there's bonus points there. There is nothing wrong with having a great jam. But I think it's just circumstance that we've checked out so many math rock bands and I've had the same problem with them all, and I'm slowly starting to put those pieces into words and ideas, and it just happens to be on the interval song. Most of this criticism could be levied against Polyphia or Chan or Covet. It feels like the same thing in all of these very technical, upbeat, bright math rock stuff. I don't know if Polyphia is technically math rock. It feels math rock adjacent, but it also feels a little distinct from stuff like Chan and Covet and Intervals. But I'm kind of grouping that all together right now because they all tend to have the same problem, which is weak composition, but really great hooks. And that's the thing with this too. It is what are the kids? It's a bop, right? That's what kids are saying these days. It is a phenomenal song to just put your headphones on and jam out to and just have fun with. But at the end of the day, is it a strong song? Is the composition solid? And I don't know that I can answer positively to that. I think it definitely gets points for being as exciting and easy to jam with despite its complexity. I don't want to take anything away from intervals with this. They set out to do something extremely difficult, and they nailed at least what their goal was in mind. It is not easy to write something this complex and still have it be so easy to listen to. It's a very palatable sound. But I really wish one of these technical bands could push it and have, a strong compositional backbone to support the playing as well. And I think that's where I'm at. It's not a bad song by any means. I just see a lot of potential that's missed, and unfortunately, I see this as a recurring pattern with bands like this. And maybe that just means that this genre is not for me, and that is fine, 100%. um, but it doesn't mean that I can't wish that there was something a little more in line with what I'm looking for, with similar baseline ideas to what's going on here. But those are just my thoughts on intervals. I'm awake. This is where you guys come in, though. Hit me up in the comments. Let me know if you enjoyed this or not. Anything bounced off of you, maybe anything that stood out to you and I just completely missed. Also, if you love this song, let me know. Maybe I'm just approaching it from the wrong point of view, and hearing somebody else's experience with it can help me better understand why people enjoy it as much as they do. I mean, this Intervals is a big band as far as requests and the Patreon poll. It's not like this is just some niche group pushing this band heavily. I see this band pop up all the time in requests. So I am more than open to hear about other experiences. When you're done commenting, you can head up to the description box. There's a Linktree link in there if you would like to check out the Discord, the Patreon, the Twitter, all sorts of different ways you can contact me and tell me I was wrong here. Also, if you could, like, subscribe, and ring the bell. I'll be back tomorrow at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 9 p.m. UTC, as usual, with another instrumental song. Until next time, remember to be critical, but not cynical, of the music you listen to, and have a fantastic morning, afternoon, or weekend. Morning, afternoon, or evening, whenever you choose to watch my videos.